Hey, good morning, everybody. It is still another great day to be alive, even though the world is a little bit crazy at the moment. Now more than ever is the time to protect yourself, as we have seen rioters and looters coming into small towns across the nation. Gun sales have been skyrocketing the past few months because you never know when you might need access to a weapon. Gun safety is a top priority for responsible gun owners, especially to keep it out of the reach of children. And that's how my guest today, Dylan Ervin, was able to create a successful and massive business. Dylan is the founder and CEO of Stopbox. He's a professional competitive shooter who had a long-term vision to create a tool that allowed for safe and secure access to your firearm, even at night. Stopbox is different than any other safe on the market. It rests comfortably and discreetly on the nightstand and uses fingertip lock technology in order to open. This allows you to access your weapon in the dark, but continues to be a barrier against children accessing the firearm. In this episode, Dylan explains how almost being abducted at 17 changed his life and has helped him create a small business empire. For the listeners today, save 15% off your purchase at Stopbox USA with discount code SUCCESS15. That's SUCCESS 15. And be sure to check out their latest product that is available for pre-order, the AR-15 chamber lock. Dylan Ervin, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So before we get started, I wanted to give the listeners some background information about who you are, how you got started with Stopbox. So before we get too far into it, why don't we just kind of get a background about where your life was before you started Stopbox?
Yeah. So I was working as a TV producer for a TV network, and I was doing that, and I found the competitive shooting sport, United States Practical Shooting Association, so USPSA, and I started competing in that. And I was doing that as a hobby. I was sponsored by a few companies, so I was able to pay for the hobby. And then eventually I made the transition from doing TV production full time to doing competitive shooting full time for a company out of Florida. And I got to do a lot of traveling and competition there. But that was kind of what was going on in my life. But in the background, I had been developing the Stopbox just really for myself. Wasn't developing it because I thought it was going to be a huge business venture and something that was going to be super successful, but something that I knew I wanted. But as I was in the industry as a competitive shooter, going to trade shows and talking to a lot of people, and started to learn more about the industry, I found that there was every time I would show somebody a video of like a prototype, they would say, "You have to finish this. You have to bring this to market." So that was kind of a continuous motivation for me to finally get to the point. I think I was at SHOT Show 2016 when a big retail chain owner said, "I would put this in all my stores. You need to finish this. This is a really cool idea." And it costs a lot of money, obviously, to develop a product. So that's what solidified it for me. Okay, I'm going to actually make the financial investment to really get this product finished and get going. But at the time, I was working as a competitive shooter, so I was kind of in the industry and learning more about it. And then from there, I was kind of the 2016 elections. Donald Trump, that business had to lay me off because they were kind of a Obama era business where they had started. And
You're talking about you're talking about the TV production side of things where you were
the
working.
TV production side. Yep.
That was like an Obama era thing.
No. Sorry. The company I was working for was an ammunition company that had started during that boom. And when Trump was elected, obviously the crash there happened. And so they didn't have as much funds to continue for the competitive side of their business. So that's when I went back to doing video production and started my own video production company, which gave me the freedom to really put time into developing the product, the Stopbox, and pushing it forward.
That's because you were a full-time competitive shooter at that time.
Correct.
You're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So you started in the TV production industry.
Yep.
Found a love and a desire for competitive shooting, went to that full time.
Yep.
And then when that ended, then you kind of scaled back and went back into TV production before you started Stopbox.
Yep. Yep.
Got
So
it.
before I had worked for another company, but after I was doing competitive shooting, I started my own business. So it just gave me more time freedom to be able to go to meetings, go work with engineers, and do stuff like that, during regular work hours.
Right. Now, let me
Yeah.
ask you this. Prior to that, did you go to secondary school? Did you go to college for anything like design or TV production? What was your background there?
Okay. So I was homeschooled until college. I did Running Start when I was 16, and I only did a year and a half of college at Eastern Washington University, and I was just doing my basically finishing up high school and getting my general credits. But I did not get a college degree in anything specific. So my background, as far as education, was homeschooled in a year and a half worth of college to get my diploma for high school. And then I immediately went into the TV industry, and I started a company early on, but I sold that, dissolved and sold that. And we were making TV commercials basically. And then I went and worked for Belo, and GetNet was the TV company that I worked for.
So do you come from an entrepreneurial background, an entrepreneurial family? Like, where does
Yeah,
that come from?
yeah, definitely. My dad has owned and ran his own custom cabinet business, and then my mom has had various businesses. From homeschooling, she ran a co-op, and she's done a lot of different businesses that she's started or that she's been a part of.
So
So
that was
there
kind of
was
instilled in
definitely,
you early on to get
yeah,
into starting your own
from
business.
absolutely. So when probably as young as 7 and 8 years old, me and the brother closest to me, we're a year apart, he's a year younger than me. We have been starting businesses since we were about 7 years old, whether it was, typical lawn care. We had one that probably wasn't very legal at all. We installed fire safety equipment in homes when we were like, I think 10, stuff like that. Budgeting and coming up with a profitable business has been something that from a young age that has always been a big interest to me. And I mean, obviously, when you're young, you want to save up, buy a dirt bike, right?
Right.
Got to be able to do that somehow.
But what actually is super impressive about a couple of things that you mentioned there is that at 8 to 10 years old, you're able to convince people who are homeowners to be able to buy equipment from kids. That's crazy. Like, you have to realize that you're already a great salesman, or you have a mind for something if you're that good at doing it.
Yeah, we liked putting together a business. So something that how do we, yeah, I mean, from start to finish, from coming up with the idea to how to execute on it, how to deliver. That's always been something that we've really liked doing. I mean, whether it's coming up with how do we advertise our lawn care business and trying things there, from flyers, signs, stuff like that, and yeah, I don't know, just from definitely a young age, working for ourselves and running a business has always been kind of, I guess, a side passion.
Yeah. Well, when you were that young, I don't know if you remember kind of the things that you learned, but early on when you start those early businesses, what do you kind of take from those early successes and failures going on as you continue forward with with entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So I would say every time I've started either a new business idea or venture, or at least started maybe a business plan, there are definitely things. I definitely feel like every business idea has had improvements based on experiences from the last one. How to deal with partners, how to structure, compensation plans. What do you want to partner? Do you want to outsource? Do you want to, stuff like that? What is it? A lot of times I would say when I've come up with an idea, the on paper, what the business plan says versus reality when the rubber meets the road. Oh, we're going to get clients this way, and then we'll be able to support X, Y, and Z. But then when it actually happens, it turns out to be just the things that or the experience of when your initial thoughts on how a business may end up working out is not necessarily what actually happens. And being more realistic, I think, with how things work and adapt, and just focusing on how we adapt versus how we plan everything. Because as soon as you plan everything out and you expect it to go one way, a wrench can get thrown in the system, and you got to be able to adapt quickly. I mean, that happened with the Stopbox business. Originally, I was basing my marketing strategy off of a friend of mine's business, where he markets through organic social media, and that worked really well for a period of time, 2014, 15, 16ish. And but by the time my product had been finished and we were out on the market, my marketing strategy was to work with people that had followings that could help spread the word of the product. And that's not how it works right now. And so I had to be able to adapt and figure out, okay, if that's not going to be our marketing strategy, and that's what I was kind of banking on, it kind of going viral organically and stuff like that. And working with influencers that have good followings to help just get the word out.
So that was your initial plan, is to work
that was
with
my
influencers.
initial.
Okay.
Yes, that was my initial plan. And then to have it completely switch to paid advertising on Facebook primarily. I don't think that was even on my mind when we had just launched the Stopbox. I don't think paid Facebook marketing was even on my mind, and that is 95% of our marketing today. So
interesting. So I want to get there in 1 second, but one thing that I find interesting is that kind of how you found that love and the passion for competitive shooting while you were in the TV production business. So I want to take it back there before we go to Stopbox. So can you kind of explain how you got introduced? Did you grow up with around guns, or how did that happen?
Okay. I don't think I had shot a real gun until I was an adult, for sure. So we didn't grow up around real guns. We had airsoft guns, and my dad had a BB gun, but we definitely didn't have any real guns in the home, and I had never gone shooting before. I got into it because when I was 17, I was actually at a YMCA on a Sunday afternoon, and I had walked outside, and I was ambushed by a gang, and they beat me up. They tried to get me in their car, so they tried to abduct me. But I fought back, and they ended up just beating me up on the ground, and then took everything that I had on me: keys, wallet, cell phone. And I had never thought about self-defense up to that point in my life. I don't think at all. And after having that experience, it definitely immediately rewired my brain. I was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife at the time. She was just inside, and I was just thinking, like, that's the worst feeling ever, to realize the situation is like immediately something bad is about to happen, and that you just pretty much have nothing you can do about it. It was pretty obvious as soon as I realized, okay, these guys are surrounding me, and their body language and stuff. And it pretty much right away, when I got hit the first punch to the face, I was like, there's not really much I can do in this situation at all. And after I recovered and really reflected on that, I was like, as soon as I turn 21, I'm going to get a handgun. I'm going to get a concealed pistols license, and I'm going to be really proficient with it. And then when I was working in news, I saw a lot how often, since stuff like this happens in our city anyway, and it's not that uncommon, where somebody wakes up and there's an intruder or somebody breaking into their home, or they're just out and about, and something like that happens. So that is what started my passion for, okay, I'm going to learn how to use a gun. I started I started training with it, and I was shooting 3 to 4 times a week, which for somebody who's never got into guns or anything, to go get a Glock 19 and be like, I want to be really good at this, and go 3, 4 times a week, people started recognizing me and noticing me. Hey, you're here a lot. You should come to our matches on the weekend. They had USPSA matches, and I turned it down for like 2 months because I didn't really understand what it was. And my best friend got back from a deployment in Afghanistan, and I said, "Hey, yeah, I've been invited out to this match. Is that something you might go with me with, or go with me to?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we went, and the first match blew my mind. I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever! Get to run around with guns and be scored for accuracy and speed." And then everybody said that, yeah, I mean, within driving distance, you could go to a match like this every weekend. I was hooked first day. Right out, I mean, on the drive back into town, I said, I'm going to do this every single weekend. And I did for about 4.5 years straight. After that, I made master class, I think, in the first 6 months. And I picked up a ammunition sponsor, which was obviously super helpful. That's the largest expense in competition shooting if you're doing it locally. And
so it was about three times a week you were going shooting?
I was going 3, 4 times a week. But when I got into competition, I was shooting almost every day. Yeah. So I was training, and then shooting 1 or sometimes 2 matches a week. Wow. And then also a practice match. So 1 practice match, which is something that they did at nights at one of our ranges, and then 2 legitimate USPSA matches a weekend. If I could, I would do on Saturday and Sunday.
So a little bit about something about me is with the pandemic, when it hit and people were kind of going crazy, there were giant lines of people at the store trying to get food. One of the things that started to creep up on me was just the feeling of, what do I do if somebody goes crazy around here and I have no way to defend myself? And that's really one of the first times I realized maybe I need to get some protection. And I think that was the case for a lot of people, a lot of Americans here, because if you see gun sales, they're through the roof right now. You can't get your hands on ammo at the moment. Like, it's crazy. So I want to transition over to Stopbox here in a second. But I mean, is that kind of something that you're seeing is just a massive demand for a product like yours right now because of everything going on?
Yeah. We have seen the most growth in our business in the last several months since the pandemic hit, for sure. We were already trending that way before the pandemic, but it was June was a really big month for us. Yeah. And that was, I think, when everything was starting to really settle in for everybody that, something serious is going on. So, yeah, I've definitely seen it. And when I started shooting, there was, unfortunately, the Sandy Hook shooting, I believe, and stuff going on during the Obama presidency. And I was going and I was paying $23 for a box of 9mm when I was just getting started, and they were limiting it to 1 box. So it's kind of funny. When I started, it was pretty much how it is now. I mean, I would go to 5 different stores to try to find 9mm, and the prices would be 2 to 3 times what they should be.
And some of the listeners may have no idea. So what is a normal cost of 9mm ammo?
$8 and some change.
$8.
And I was paying 23. I mean, it would be nice to be able to walk in and say, I want 3 boxes, which a box is 50 rounds. That'd be only 150 rounds. But at the time when I started, they were limiting it to 1 box per customer. And they're doing that right now as well. So, I mean, yeah, it really sucks.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because, I want the ability to go out and start learning how to use my gun better and be proficient like you were. Like you said, you practice makes you better, makes you perfect. And so that's exactly what we're running into, is the lack of opportunity to be able to become better with it. Now let's go ahead and actually talk about Stopbox. So after about 10 years in the TV production industry, you get this idea for Stopbox. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my firstborn, my daughter, was 9 months, She started walking. And as soon as she started walking, I'm like, all right, I got it. I can't just leave my gun in my nightstand anymore. She can get into anything now. So I went to our local gun store and I looked at all their options for a gun safe and or a bedside gun safe that was quick access. And I really looked at it all and I was like I've been in this situation. I know somebody personally who's been in this situation where you're being attacked or, you're having an adrenaline dump from, just you're under a lot of pressure. All these devices I could see easily messing up and really preventing access to you in the situation where you would actually use it. So like the sequence-based ones where it's press, these 5 buttons in a sequence and then it'll open up. Like in a panic, you accidentally hit the wrong button, you get locked out for 10 seconds. Or you hit the wrong button, you don't know, you get to the end, you have to reset it and then do it again. You're wasting multiple seconds. And I wanted something that you could use in the dark. If you woke up with somebody like entering your bedroom type situation and you're not wearing glasses, it's in the middle of the night. One hand you might be using to defend yourself or to use a flashlight or doing, whatever. And then one hand to grab the gun. None of the devices that I found, I knew they had most of the popular ones. I did not like them at all. And I started doing research online that same day. And same thing, I couldn't find anything that I really felt like would actually be quick access in a scenario where you would want to use your handgun or want access to it. And then the other factor that I was considering is I didn't like the idea of all electronics or being battery powered, because imagine if they came out with a gun that ran off of batteries. It's like, this gun works so long as you keep the batteries charged, right?
Yeah.
Who would buy that gun? It'd be a very, very small, if any, segment of the market. Yeah, when you put your gun in a device that runs off of batteries or electronics, you're doing the exact same thing. So that was something that I considered, is you have all these electronic safes and they may be good. They are good. I'm not saying they're not good, but if you want something that, you're essentially putting a battery powered barrier between you and your defensive tool. And that's something that if you put it in the right perspective, most people wouldn't even accept. So I wanted something that was all mechanical, quick access, can use in the dark with one hand. So no batteries or electronics. And there's a couple options, but they had the same problem. Press. If you hit the wrong one or you can't see or can't feel, or it's the middle of the night, you're locked out, got to reset it and do the same thing over and over again. So I immediately thought, okay, well, there's got to be a better way to do this, because all I care about is keeping my daughter's hands off of the gun so she can't have quick access to it. And also it'd be nice to be able to have it nearby, but it's not apparent that there's a gun there. It's not like, oh, this guy's got a gun sitting here, right? So I wanted something that was low key, portable, quick to access, and then just prevented those unintentional access. So like somebody from opening a door, oh, here's a gun, or a kid. I was like, well, that would be easy. I just need a box and I need some sort of code that you press and you should just do it at once. And I came up with the idea in like, I don't know, I think 5 minutes for it. And it was, it happened in one day where I went to buy something, couldn't find it, did research for probably about 2-3 hours. And then on my drive home from work, I was doing this at work, by the way, I shouldn't have probably been doing that. But on my drive home from work, it took by the first intersection I pulled up, I was like, I got it. Corner of the box, easy to index, right? At night, your hand can wrap right around the corner. You can feel that really easily, and have a button for each one of your fingers so they naturally line up. And then you just press a specific code. And I thought about, okay, having it to where you have to press down to open it, kind of like a pill bottle, right? Yeah. In order to open a pill bottle, you got to line the arrows, press down and open it. Well, it's like, well, that should be able to work. That shouldn't be that hard. And that was it. I took it straight to my dad, who's a custom cabinet builder. So he had a whole shop full of things. I said, I have an idea for something that'd be kind of cool to make. And then we started working on the first prototype. And multiple times the project though got stalled. I got really excited about it, would get kind of through a prototype and something wouldn't work right, I'd kind of put it on the back burner for a while. But I knew it was something that I really wanted, and um, I invested a good chunk of money into hiring an engineer, and we hit a dead end there. We had some prototypes made, but they were not good. And the mechanism I came up with wasn't a good way to do it, and I spent, I believe, 20 grand on that, and that kind of was a bummer to just kind of hit a wall, and then I kind of put it off to the side again until, like I mentioned earlier, being at SHOT Show, showing people videos of the prototype, and they say, you have to finish this.
So that's kind of how you got the encouragement to go forward with it, is you were at a gun show showing people and they thought it was such a cool idea.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. And that because at that point, the only way I was going to be able to continue forward was to figure out how to get money to pay for it. I mean, it's cost money to develop a product, and I was going to have to make the commitment to come up with 60 to 80 grand to finish it out and to try hopefully get it to market, and ended up costing way more than that. But
now, somebody you were working as a competitive shooter, and you had some, you had a regular day job, but for somebody to build a product, like you said, the engineer was about $20,000 within that range. And then it was going to take $80,000 plus for somebody who's kind of just a regular guy trying to build a business. How do you get that kind of money? Do you have to go to a bank and say, hey, this is my prototype, we're banks lending? Like, what is the mindset in trying to come up with that much cash to get that built and build your dream?
Yep. So, the first chunk of cash was my own. It was our savings. And the second chunk to completely redesign it and hopefully get it to injection molding and everything, that 80,000, I did take to the SBA, took the idea there to get a loan, and went through that process. They ended up denying me. Even though the whole time I was told, oh, this is a great idea. Looks really strong. Projections and everything look really good. I ended up having a hard time getting a loan at all, until a company called Craft 3 here was able to do it. And I think the way they work is they have investors that pool money, and they have their underwriter, seek out ways to invest that money. And it's definitely a higher percentage loan. And
that's like an angel investor?
Short term. Kind of. I'm not sure what the term is for it, but it is actual individuals who are putting their money in. But from my experience with it, my interface with the company, it's very similar to just going to a bank. I presented them, where we're at, what we're going to do with the money and the projections, and they within 3 days actually were able to turn around a $80,000 loan. And it was a pretty short term, but it was, and with a hyper interest rate, but it was enough to get me, rolling and get started.
How do you come up with projections when you have no sales for what you plan on doing?
So coming up with projections were truly based off of similar products I could find in the market. And there wasn't anything really similar, but just stuff as close as I could get, and using resources that I got to our library, like Reference USA for demographics and Demographics Now and stuff like that, pooling information to figure out, to kind of put together, okay, how many people are actually in this market that are my primary, customers, and how are they spending their money, what price range, stuff like that. How much is Hornady selling of this? How much is this company selling of that? To just kind of put together, okay, based off of what I can gather, this is what I think I could sell of it. And it turns out there's a lot more people than I thought that are there, especially now with the growing demand with all the new gun owners and everything. It's been kind of mind blowing to see how many people this product resonates with and find a lot of use for it. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, for somebody, Was that you doing all of the work yourself, like coming up with these projections? Did you have a partner? Like, how did that work? That
Yeah,
seems like a lot of work.
yeah, it was all me. Yeah, there
Wow.
I've not had any partner or anything in
Yeah.
this whole project, and definitely for a couple years, for 2.5 years, it was doing everything, figuring out how to get patents, how to um, you know, design and develop working with an engineering company, and how to structure a business, how to figure out how, the plan for how we're going to make these, market them, sell them, actually deliver on them and everything. Was definitely a lot of work on top of working a full-time job to pay the bills and everything. Um, but that's where I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it if I was working for, um, well, I mean, I don't know if I, it would have been very difficult to do it if I was working a 9 to 5 for somebody else.
Yeah.
There was definitely um, a lot of moments where I thought, I was very appreciative of the fact that I had the flexibility to just in the middle of a workday go spend 2 hours with engineers or an hour with a business attorney, or just be able to bounce around and to divert attention and stuff during regular work hours, because that's when those people are working. So
Right.
um, being being independent and running my own business, my video production company, definitely made for that flexibility. Whereas if I was still working for Bilo or Gannett, um, that would have, I don't know how I would have been able to fit all that in. It probably just would have drug everything out, I guess, a lot longer.
One of the things that I always find interesting is trying to build a business while you have a family. And like you said, you started this when you
Yeah.
already had a daughter.
Yep.
You're married at this time, you have your daughter. And how does that play into trying to raise a family, trying to build that business? Like, I just kind of like to give a shout out to the wives in this, because it always
Yeah.
seems like a strong partner who is dedicated to the dream is really, it's so underrated, but it's what helps a business grow and really see so much potential and success.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. So actually, when the day when I started, the first competition that I shot, and the day I decided I want to do this, I want to do it professionally. I want to get into the industry. I had just had the idea for the Stopbox around that same time, and when I went home that night, I remember lying in bed and talking to my wife, and I'm like, "Gosh, how do I convince her to be okay with me on the weekends going and shooting these competitions?" And I'm always thinking though, like in terms of how to, a business strategy and stuff. And something that seemed to make sense is if I could work my way into this industry and be somebody that knows people that have some authority on subjects, especially when it comes to, you know, uh, stuff, defensive stuff or firearms related stuff, that would be super beneficial in marketing a product that I'm trying to come up with. If I tried to come up with a product and nobody, I have no credentials, in the industry, is okay, well, why should we listen to,
Right.
this person? I thought using the gateway of being a professional pistol shooter that has achievements in that realm would be definitely beneficial. So I remember telling her, if I get into the industry this way, as we develop the stop box, I think at the time we called it safe grab. Um, if I do this, this will be a way that we can sell it. We can market this product in the future and actually look like we know what we're talking about versus just being somebody random. And she was on board with that. And so for the next years I spent as a competitive shooter, and we're kind of working into the industry, learning more about it, being able to, being at trade shows, being at SHOT Show, going and really experiencing what the industry is like. Definitely stemmed from that initial conversation. And yeah, she never gave me crap for anything, shooting
Wow.
that much and being gone. And no, she was a massive support there, because if I was just doing it for fun, I mean, who wants their spouse to give up their weekend or a Sunday to go be off doing this? But I think both of us have reconnected on this, that there was a very large payoff, because right when we launched the product, we were able to be working with people to endorse the product that were friends of mine, like Travis Tomasi and stuff that we were able to share the product with, and they were able to share and give their endorsement on it. And so there's definitely a payoff for doing that. But no, her support through the long hours and everything was definitely massive. And we have 3 kids now, so I mean, she's definitely put up with a lot raising kids with me having to work so much. But fortunately now we're kind of able to equalize everything out and work normal hours and really, benefit from all that work.
So once you guys finally brought it to market, how does the business change from there?
So when we first brought it to market, we were doing everything that we could in-house. I mean, the injection molds and stuff to actually make the Stopbox took a lot longer than I expected. I think about a year longer to be finished. So I had a lot of time to prepare and figure out how we're going to do things. And so once we did hit the market, I had a pretty good idea of we're going to be manufacturing these ourselves. We're going to be doing the assembly, the order fulfillment. We had only 2 employees at the time when we started, and then we went in the first year. We started with 2. We went down to 1 employee plus me, and then for a period of time, actually, even last year, actually, just over a year ago, it was just me and my wife. My wife was building the stop boxes, and I was helping her build, but also I was doing all order fulfillment and I mean everything else involved. That was between 1 full-time employee had left, and it was just us 2 for about 2 months, and then we hired 3. We were able to hire 3 employees after that for the rest of last year. But yeah, no, it very, very small family owned and operated business to start out. Yeah.
And so with this year, with everything going crazy, like you said, there's been a large rise in the amount of orders. So how have you guys seen your business grow? Employees, any kind of outsourcing or anything you guys have had to do?
Yep. So we have now outsourced all of our manufacturing. So at the beginning of this year, we outsourced our manufacturing to a company that's right next to us. They're in Idaho.
So it's still American-made product for people.
Yep. They're 15 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now. Here, I saw we're on the border of Idaho, basically. We're in Spokane, Washington, and they're right on the border as well, but they're on the Idaho side. And so that company is handling all of our manufacturing, warehousing, and fulfillment. So we started seeing a lot of growth at the end of last year, to where we were quickly realizing that as this scales up, we're either going to have to make the decision to scale up, employees and our facility, or we can work with a vendor that already has all that stuff in place. So we went from the beginning of this year, it was 3 people manufacturing the Stopbox here in this building, to now it's about 20 people actually doing the assembly, and probably a good 10 or to 15 people supporting those people in the other side areas that are required for like order management and program management and quality control to shipping and all that. So from 3 to about 35 FTEs, full-time equivalents, that we're using at this manufacturing facility. And then in-house now, we have full-time accounting department, full-time product development department, customer service.
So they handle
PR,
all the stuff that you
marketing.
don't really want to deal with, and then you guys can kind of focus on the big picture.
Exactly. So they handle the manufacturing side and kind of the nitty gritty stuff with actually putting the product together and getting them shipped out. And we have a team of 5 now that are managing the higher level stuff. Definitely helped change the scope of what running a business is. instead of sitting in my office and having somebody say, I'm having a problem with orders, I'm having a problem with, something in the manufacturing room, to where that's all my focus, being kind of an operations manager and, wearing a lot more hats, to that's all separated from me, and it goes through channels before it even gets as high as me.
So my last question for you is going to be about the future of the company. You start off with a business like this. Number one, how do you grow a product line? And then number two, long term, like, would you be interested in selling out to a big corporation, just taking it? Or is this something that you see you want to run for a long period of time? Like, have you even thought about exit strategies?
Yep. Well, I want to run the business like, if we were to sell, we'd be able to sell tomorrow. I want to run it with just with that kind of mindset that we want to keep everything really clean and set up. But my goal and where I'm at today is I want this to be a family business that I'm able to pass down, to potentially future generations. And we want to continue to innovate. We have different verticals that we're looking at exploring inside within the industry, and still following the same theme of developing, rapid access retention devices. But really, there was definitely periods over the last few years where I said I would be so happy to get it up to here and sell the business. But with where we're at today and the vision for where we're going, I don't see any reason I would want to do that. I think so. Most of our team members are all my family members, and it's one of the coolest things I think, to be able to come in and work and hang out with my brothers, and work all day. I don't really want that to change. I think even if, with what we're doing as we scale up the business, I think it'd be really cool to kind of just keep doing what we're doing.
So that's one of the things that you kind of got out of the success of building your company. You now have a career that not only do you like, and that is profitable, that you get to be innovative and creative with, but you also get to work with your family, and you can make this a family business. So it's something long-term that you can do. And with kind of the craziness of what's going on with 2A, I'm sure all the time, you kind of always have a market for it.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Do you have any advice for any up and coming entrepreneurs that are looking to get started in a business or kind of struggling?
Yeah. For getting started, it's definitely not easy, and it's not, I don't know. I would say, just be adaptive. Be willing to reassess, constantly. Are we going in the right direction? Is this still a good idea or a good approach? And then for somebody who is struggling, kind of the same thing. For me, it kind of felt like I was throwing darts at a dartboard, hoping one would stick at times. Just, I think this will work. I think this will be a really good way that we can market our product, and just, it doesn't work. And just keep I guess trying different things, and don't get stuck. I would say don't get really narrow focused on just trying to make one thing work. I think that's something that can be detrimental too, is that if you stick down one path and just keep hitting it when there's maybe something right there, and networking too. A lot of the things that I found starting the business was that somebody would say something, this is how I'm running my business. And I said, what the, I didn't, I would have never thought that, you could be doing it that way. So just getting exposure, I think plugging into other people who are also starting businesses and seeing what they're doing and what's working for them is probably really good idea.
That's great advice. And I really appreciate your time. I learned a lot about business, and I will continue to go ahead and promote you guys as much as possible because you guys do make a very good product. It's solid, it's easy access, and everything you guys talk about in your advertisements, that's exactly what it is. So Dylan, thank you for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Anthony. I appreciate it.